Sports 7 Sports Game. I'm your host, Justin Rose, joined today by a couple of radio guys. Kyle Bogey from the Bogey and Wojo show in 97.1. The Ticket from 6 to 6:30 every day.
Oh, get out of here. Sometimes 7, sometimes 7:30.
Sometimes 7:30.
Sometimes 10.
Sometimes.
You know, sometimes.
Sometimes 6,
Sometimes never.
Not that often.
Rico Beard, 92.1, the team in Lansing. He's on from 6 to 7.
Yes.
The Spartan Beat.
A long show right there. 6 to 7.
How does he prepare for such a long time?
Wojo would never be able to do that every day. My goodness.
No.
Lots to talk about today. I mean, obviously, both the Red Wings and the Pistons season's coming to a close this week. Red Wings ended last night. Let's just start right there. They give us an hour heads up that, hey, we got a press conference that you should probably be here for. We're like, well, okay, what's going on? I'm going to myself in East Lansing with Rico, was there for the spring game yesterday. Well, Ken Holland, he's either here or he's gone. They decided to do a 2-year extension for the general manager of 22 seasons now, and there's a lot of people that are unhappy about this.
I guess it depends on what your expectations. If you expect the Wings of old, you're angry. But if you realize all good things come to an end, he has to rebuild it, and he may actually know what he's doing and putting it back together. And the nastiest word in sports, patience.
Yeah, and obviously Detroit fans in general, not just Red Wings fans, are going to have patience here over the next several years.
Can't have that.
No, and it's difficult. I understand that. I think the biggest thing is it does come off as a little bit tone deaf. Like, you have thousands of season ticket holders, and I think a lot of them have been clamoring for Ken Holland to be out, you know, for several years now, that he signed too many bad contracts, too many 7-year deals for, you know, guys like Darren Helm or Franz Nielsen, Justin Abdelkader, even a guy 7 years, $4 million per, and he's been fine. But there's been a lot of poor decisions from Ken Holland recently. Now, do we know how he can handle a rebuild? No, because it's just been pulled a couple of years ago. He said after the 2015 loss to the Tampa Bay Lightning, all of a sudden he started to think about the future and think about a rebuild. So we got to wait and see. But the 2-year deal thing kind of throws me off, because I did think next year, pipe dream or not, I did think Steve Yzerman was in play, and maybe he will be. I think
that's what Wings fans are hoping for, is Yzerman to come here, and he's going to leave. Okay, worst case scenario, what happens if Yzerman just stays and you get rid of Ken Holland? You don't know who the next person is going to be, and they could just drive the Wings into 10 years of going back to being the dead Wings. Well,
yeah, and I think that the one thing, to your point about the 2-year deal, I think it is an interesting timing, because from people that I've spoken to, they say, hey, Steve doesn't want to leave right yet. I mean, I think he still needs to win in Tampa Bay before he starts going, maybe I'll look around somewhere else. I mean, that's pure speculation at this point, but I think that when you look at it, I think you're right. More than cooler heads need to prevail here, because look, give this guy a little bit of a chance. Now, granted, the draft picks got to be better. You got to have guys that come in and can compete in 1 or 2 years after playing a little bit in the minors. They're going to have a better chance at a #1 draft pick or a top 3 draft pick this year that they haven't had in 25 years. Let's keep that in mind too. They just haven't had the opportunity to get pick equity like they do this year. They have a ton of picks. Let's see how it goes. That's where I'm at with it.
No, I think you do. You just need a little bit of patience with this team. They're not going back to being, always in the Stanley Cup discussion the way they were. You have to start over. You don't know. And Detroiters may be becoming a little selfish and arrogant, just thinking, oh, Yzerman's just got his bags packed and waiting to come. He may not really want to come back
here. The situation here, and he's not. You're not sitting on a rookie or a top 3 rookie that you're going to be like, I can build around this guy.
So yeah, let's see. I think 2 years was good enough of a window. He's not a lame duck if you just sign him to a 1-year extension. You're saying, okay, turn this around, make us relevant in 2 years, and then we can go from there.
An interesting point Paul Woods brought up on the radio broadcast last night was, I think he said 11 teams from last year's playoffs did not make it into the playoffs this year because of just the parity and how the NHL works. And I think that's another thing you have to keep in mind with Ken Holland is it's a different NHL than what he really kind of groomed himself up through with the salary cap and whatnot. It's different now, and you have to be better every single year, and I think he's starting to understand that.
Well, to me, I do think that the skill level and, the parity word is obviously used by a lot of people. That certainly has changed it, but it's the getting a point and getting to overtime. I think that has changed the dynamic of everything, too.
True.
Where, I mean, last year the Wings were what? 5 points from being the worst team in the league, but they were also 5 points out of a playoff spot,
sure.
In the Eastern Conference. So, I mean, I don't think it's as much about, all these teams are so good. I do think the point system plays a large role in that, but I mean, again, as far as Ken Holland is concerned, he did what he had to do over the last couple of years, getting draft picks and compiling as many as humanly possible. What he does with those draft picks ultimately will, determine whether or not he does a good job. But to me, I don't know that I look at it as a 2-year window. And I also think too, again, I'm not going to sit here and pump the Steve Yzerman's going to be here or anything like that. But I will look at next year and see what happens. And I don't think I'll be surprised if Ken Holland gets bumped up, or if Ken Holland is in the running for a different job, if in fact they sit at a dinner table and try to roll out the red carpet.
And I think you also have to realize that no longer, gone are the days where the Wings can make that trade and bring that guy in. This is no longer the destination town anymore. This is just a town. It's not hockey town, it's just town.
I'll put it in this aspect, and I don't know if you guys agree with me or not. I think the Red Wings are a little bit like the Yankees of baseball in the hockey world. I think that the brand right now has taken a dip just because they're not playing as well, but that doesn't mean if they don't get some young talent in here, a good goaltender, and a head coach maybe isn't Jeff Blashill, that can rise real quick from the ashes again, and they can be that power that they once were.
No, I agree with that. I think that, yeah, if you can get a core, if you can get something that the veteran will say, you know what, yeah, I can go there and win something. That's what Holland, he kind of made his career off of going out that last second and bringing that top guy in, and that was the push to get over the edge. You don't have that now. Now you have to actually earn your money. And, it's kind of been unsuccessful, but
it's a little bit unfair. I mean, like you bring up the Yankees, and I hate the Yankees just as much as any guy, but
there are people around the NHL that hate the Red Wings just
of
as much as anybody else.
But it is a little bit misconstrued. The Red Wings, the core of those Red Wings teams, they drafted a lot of those guys. They traded for a Brendan Shannon. They picked up a Chris Draper. Same with the Yankees. They drafted a lot of them. Absolutely.
You get the core, and then the guys will come in.
Well, and I think that we're going to listen to what they had to say at the press conference in a second here, but I think the one point that I don't know if you guys are going to bite. Listen to the last little nugget of this from Ken Holland and see if you agree with him or not. Play that.
We're very pleased with the progress. And, around these parts, we're used to being in the playoffs. We're used to competing for Stanley Cups. And believe me, that's where we all want to be. And that's a lot of fun. But to get back there, it's a process. And we've done it before, and we're going to do it again. And we think Ken is the right guy to lead that for our organization. So we're thrilled to have him back.
We've now focused on the future, and those guys in that room. We've had a tough year. We're not good enough. We got to get a lot better. But they play hard. They're playing hard. I think it's important that we continue to play hard. We continue to compete.
Play hard, continue to compete. I mean, it's a line, but I do see that the Wings played hard this year. They didn't give up. The talent isn't there, though, right?
Give us 2.5 periods, play hard, don't get a point. I mean, that's literally all we need. I know that's sad, but in reality, that's all you want. You want them to play well. You want them to be in there in the end. But just like last night, lose in overtime.
Well, ahead. I think that they really wanted to win that last. I mean, that was 30 seconds left in the game. They got a 6-on-4. And then the overtime session, of course, the Red Wings 3-12 in overtime this year. I mean, just dreadful.
It just comes down to your expectation. If you're expecting the old Wings, this is a horrible time just in Detroit sports, period. You got to lower the expectation and just go to games to be entertained and hope that they win. And if they don't, you can be okay with that. I know it's a loser's mentality, but right now, this is a loser city.
Ooh, wow. Loser city. Wow. All right. Well,
the Lions are your only hope.
You're not wrong. Negative Detroit media. But Rico, to your point, you actually looked at the rundown. We're going to talk about the Pistons now, and of course they're out of the playoffs. They have 3 games left tonight. They play in Memphis. Then tomorrow they're home for their season finale at Little Caesars Arena, and then Wednesday they wrap up the season. Kyle, you're on the pre and the post game show for 97.1 The Ticket. Look, Stan Van Gundy, I think, is the question. What is going to happen with him in your estimation? What is going to happen?
What should happen? He should be removed in all capacity. This has been a total and complete failure for 4 years. He shouldn't be allowed to have another year to potentially clean it up, whether it be as coach or president of basketball operations. Jeff Bauer, in the same sense. But they won't do it. I don't feel like Stan Van Gundy is going to go anywhere. I feel like they're going to sit here and they're going to sell fans on the idea, Reggie's back, guys. Reggie, you put him next to Blake Griffin and Andre Drummond, You can see the pieces in the Eastern Conference.
But Kyle, they've won, what, 9 of the last 12
Against
games
who?
with the big three?
Have you looked at this schedule recently?
You're right.
I
Nothing's
mean,
gonna
I know
happen.
you're having fun.
No,
I don't think anything will happen.
I mean, you got the ultimate weekend part-time dad who shows up with, you know, a gift and expects it to be, oh, I know I wasn't around for your childhood, but here you go. You know, I bought you a new toy in Blake Griffin. Go play with that. That should help you win, right? It's like, he doesn't care. He shows up, throws a couple T-shirts in the crowd, and tells you about all of this hot garbage, and you're supposed to get excited about it. Oh, yeah, and you got a new arena that none of you go down to see, so let's put some seat covers on it.
Think about this, and just for comparative purposes, Tom Gores has been to what, 3-4 games, you know, this year? If we want to get him 5, you know, just maybe we didn't notice.
Benefit of the doubt.
Benefit of the doubt. Maybe he's been to 5 games at Little Caesars Arena, right? The Dallas Mavericks are even worse than the Detroit Pistons, which is very hard to be, obviously.
Wow.
Mark Cuban was sitting right behind the Dallas Mavericks bench at Little Caesars Arena the other night in his Mavericks t-shirt, and they're trying to tank. Like, they are openly trying to lose, but that's an owner that is literally making the time to be there for a young team that's trying to get better. Where the hell is Tom Gores? Where? We have an owner who bought the team for $325 million, and he's going to flip them because now they're worth $1.1 billion, but he's waiting to potentially cash out. That, to me, is what's going on.
Just make the trade with Gilbert.
Gilbert would be
Just
great.
Here's the
I'm
problem.
with you. I'm with you. I think that the ownership has to be more into it because the fans see through that.
Here's the thing.
Some don't, though.
Stan Van may have been promised
Before
another
he
year.
show up?
But he may have been promised another year because you traded your first pick. You got rid of it. And people are like, but this Blake Griffin, I'm like, this is not Blake Griffin jumping over Kia Blake Griffin. This guy is done. You're simply just bringing in, you know, somebody for the fan. He's Allen Iverson 2.0.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong at all. And I think the biggest problem with what the Pistons have done is they are mortgaging any sense of trying to build for the future with this move.
Yeah.
And
No,
this
they
is
think
one of
they
the,
are, though.
The
this
pick
is the
is gone.
deepest drafts we've had in, what, 3-4 years?
Pick's gone.
15 would have been, you could have gotten Miles Bridges at 15th, which is a player that can help change a franchise around. They get nothing. They get nothing to show for it. So.
And the problem is, I mean, you say Allen Iverson. The Allen Iverson deal actually was great because they were just trying to clear money, and they had money in free agency to go spend that summer. I know it was awful to see Chauncey go. Problem is what they did with that money. But Blake Griffin, you are locked in $35 million a year for 4 years. Andre Drummond, $25 million for the next 3 years.
Tried to tell people that was a bad move. No, he's going to be guys. It's a bad move. He's a Detroit superstar. He's not a superstar.
Andre Drummond?
Once again, we overvalue our people in Detroit. People outside Detroit's like, who? Andre who? Who's that?
Yeah. No.
If the Pistons wanted to get serious about it and actually wanted to build around Blake Griffin, you're not going to be able to move Reggie Jackson in that $17 million a year. Andre Drummond is the guy that you would somehow try to potentially unload.
They
you
tried
can't
that.
win with him.
And they remembered Sacramento was like, no.
And who was it Knicks by?
We don't want.
His boy, Tom Gores,
Yeah.
I would assume, is who nicks that deal because he loves him some Andre Drummond. And you're never going to win anything with him.
No.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to get much of a deal.
What do you guys think? Go to Twitter. Use the hashtag 7SportsCave. Get your tweets in. We'll read those in a little bit. Got lots more to talk about. Stay with us here on the Suburban 47 Sports Cave.